Welcome to a community built of tomorrow's business leaders. Hey guys, I'm William Freitas, and this is the Socius Podcast. Socius, welcome back to another episode. Today we've got Rebecca Raad on the show. Rebecca?
Thanks for having me, Will.
Yeah, great to have you. Rebecca's from BNI, and tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and how it is you got to be where you are today.
I run BNI, the BNI network, the Sydney Northwest and Penrith side of BNI.
So it's essentially a structured referral program for small business owners to come in and get some business, build a community and
meet each other, each other, do business with each other.
Like-minded business individuals. Yeah, cool. I like it. And we'll touch on that a little bit more, I guess, down the track. But I'd love to get to know who Rebecca Raad is and what her background is. So give us a little bit as to how you started and what got you into BNI.
I'm originally a biochemist. I had a history in science and software development. Wow. Yes, I did. I worked in a lab for quite a few years. It's research, always research, but they were funded by big pharma companies. And that was when I decided I was not going to work for a big pharma company. And I left the lab and took a couple of jobs. I ended up working in a toy factory in Castle Hill. Best job ever.
And what had you go from science to a toy factory?
Oh, you just have to keep saying yes to every opportunity that comes. So I was tutoring at the time, and this poor girl was really struggling with her maths, and her mother, Crystal, walked into the dining room and she was like, I have to meet you. They were very wealthy people living on acreage in Galston with, believe it or not, Galston where I am now, funny that. But they had this beautiful manicured acreage. And she went, I just have a job for you. She heard how I was talking to her daughter. And she said, are you looking for a job? I said, no, but, tell me more. And that's how I got that job.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I stayed there for a couple of years. It was a good job.
Tell me a little bit about you said a little statement. You said, say yes to every opportunity or say yes to everything.
Yeah. I
want to hear more about that because it's funny, my mum always used to tell me that. Say yes to everything. And it wasn't a, say yes to everything and then work out how to do it later. Like very much like that, because I don't really subscribe to that thought process. Like you want to know how it is that you're going to get to do it. You
want to know how it is.
Maybe my controlling mentality wants to.
Your need for certainty.
Where did that come from? Like what had you go, I want to say yes to everything? And
I went through science felt like a dead end. And it got to a point where I felt so trapped in it that I didn't see how I'd put so many years into something and I didn't see how I was ever going to use it the way I wanted to, and I felt trapped and I was miserable and also not overly happy in that role because it's very limiting. There's no people in it. So for me, I was very trapped. The journey has been long. It's been saying yes to different things so that eventually I said yes to the big thing, which is buying this business and doing something that was meaningful and important for myself.
And this is the BNI
And that's the BNI journey, yeah.
So obviously you were in this toy manufacturing business.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what did you do post toy manufacturing?
Well, I had a baby. So I took a year off, a whole year, and they wanted me to come back straight away and, 6 weeks and let's get back in. And and I actually thought I would. So I can relate to all these young women that have their first child and think that it's going to be so easy. But once you have that baby, everything changes. So I just waited a year and I left, and then I had to find myself all over again by helping my husband start his business, which was a mechanic. And that was really how we entered the world of BNI, through his business.
Wow. Take me a little bit back. You mentioned you don't think the world necessarily geared up for women having kids.
The world is not, the business world, I will say it because I've lived it, is not geared for women with babies.
And that's just primarily, they expect, the business world expects women to come back sooner.
You can't be a slave to two masters. So you've either got to focus on the babies or you've got to focus on the work. And when I was doing it, and let's go back, 15 years, it was not flexible. There was no flexibility in it. So what does that look like? It looks like, let's say you can go back after 8 or 12 weeks or 16 weeks. And then what happens when they get sick? And then, you're constantly taking sick days. You're constantly working from home. And back then working from home wasn't even a real thing. So it was not built. So it was, if it was a question of do we choose the baby or do we choose work, well, I was going to say yes to the baby, and that would mean a new opportunity somewhere. But sometimes you've got to say no to something to say yes to something else. And that's what I did. And it was a pivotal decision I made.
That's so interesting. You know, at the start you were saying how, you know, say yes to every opportunity, but right now you just mentioned say no to one thing so you can say yes to the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a real pivotal point, to be able to be clear on what it is that you want, which isn't always easy, right? Because particularly, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say particularly women that have children may not necessarily know where they want to go into post.
It's so hard. Everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes, and the non-negotiables come forward. And it's like that, they become your core values. They become how you live. The decisions that you make get based on the non-negotiables.
So take us back on that journey. So you just had the first baby, and then at that point, what happened next?
Well, we were already pregnant with the second.
Yeah.
And I was like,
in quick succession.
Very quick success, very quick, which we wanted. We very much wanted children close in age. So it was a decision that we made. And it was like, we can do this. My dad's been self-employed his whole life. If he could do it, we can do it. So that's where his business started from. It was that moment of, oh crap, what are we going to do? Let's just do this. Let's just do our own business. And
where did you get that trust from? Like, what I hear is that you had an immense amount of trust that it was possible, right? And it's almost in the same vein that you say yes to every opportunity. Like, you trust that the positive is always going to be there.
I have faith. And that meant every step forward, I just felt like I just couldn't fall. There was a mattress under me. Now, skip forward 2 years. We had 2 years of no customers, no money, no hope. It was a very low, no health. It was a very low patch. And you get to the end of the 2 years and you think, faith took me so far, and then where is it? Where is it all gone? Because you know you're looking to be rescued, and nobody cares. The world does not care how good you are at what you do. They don't care how desperately you need that job. Doesn't care. So we had 2 years, which really was like walking through fire.
The first 2 years of business always seemed that way, right?
Oh, it was terrible. It was really bad. And I said, if I knew it was going to be that bad, we wouldn't have done it. Would have just got him another job. He was very sought after as a mechanic because of his training. So it would have been so much easier to just take another job. And it was good. But the journey is what has brought us to where we are.
Amazing.
Because had it been easy, I don't think you earn it more when it's harder.
I want to highlight that point too around faith, because I know for me, when everyone asks me what's my number one factor for success, it would definitely have to be faith. The intrinsic belief that I can do anything that I believe I want to do, and the belief that I feel as if that it's possible, that I can absolutely do it. And that's what I can hear, that despite not knowing the full journey that would have come in those first 2 years, you just believe that you could do it.
Because you've got no confidence in those early years because you're still learning. And every single time, if you don't have faith, if you've got no, and it's bigger than belief in yourself, it's that there is something bigger. There is a bigger purpose. Because for us, for my husband in particular, it was so soul-destroying to be working for somebody that didn't appreciate and didn't value him. So it was bigger than, I believe that he can do it. I genuinely believe that he's an excellent mechanic, but I also know he's not the only excellent mechanic. There are so many people that are really good at their jobs, but in his particular life, in his journey, he had to find something that fulfilled him, and he wanted this. So it was faith in the bigger picture that God provides, that there will be something waiting, that you never ask and that if you ask, you never not receive. Yeah. It was more of the bigger picture, but it's backed by his skill. And the goals have changed so much through the years, but they've been our goals, not his goal, not my goal. Either I've bought into him or he's bought into me. And that rowing in the same direction, that's what's so much easier. And, you know, even now in my position in B&I, you see wives or you see partners and husbands and that kind of thing, and they haven't got the other guy doesn't have their back. And it's why?
It's funny, you know, because I feel like today's society has almost built a culture where it's your own individual race. I know, me, myself personally, when we built our business, the insurance business, my wife, you know, was 100% behind it, and we put things off to make that happen. Yep. And there were some sacrifices that were necessary to do. And, you know, then 6 years later, I vividly remember her coming to me and saying, I can't do this anymore with my job. And she just quit on the whim. And similar to what you said, you know, it's financially, it's not like we were in a position to do so. We had to take a punt. We had to take that on and really trust and believe that it was possible. And you know what you get on the other side is magical, and I'm sure you can attest to that now.
Oh, so powerful, but you have to walk through it though. You have to walk the road, and each of us has our own road, and you can't skip it. There's no shortcut. It's the road for you, and it's different. Ours are different, but they're so similar. And how many people are walking the same similar road by themselves on the outside, you know, with no support? It's really lonely. So I'm on a mission to make it less lonely, and to make it more enjoyable.
Tell us more about your mission.
So what we're doing in BNI is we're actually helping each other. That's all it is. We're just helping each other. So if I help you, maybe you'll feel like helping me one day. That's what it's built on, and that's powerful.
And tell us more about how it is that you found BNI, right? You were in
the depths of despair, desperation. I was the one controlling the money. Still am, unfortunately. All the responsibility is resting on my shoulders.
The mechanic business, yes?
All of it.
Okay.
My husband is a free spirit, and my plan was, this is the plan.
Yeah.
So we brought the mortgage broker out, who happened to be my dad's friend. So who knows a mortgage broker? So just got the lady that Dad used. She comes to our house, kids are asleep at 7 o'clock at night, and she says, the bank's not going to touch you. You don't have any income. You can't service the loan. And I was like, that was a low point. I was like, that's really sad, because we have not missed a repayment. We have been really good with our money. We have lived very conservatively for 2 years. She says, they're not going to touch you. So, you know, come and join my networking group. They'll give you work, and then you can come back to me and I'll get the loan started for you.
Wow.
So he goes to the very first meeting, BNI Prime. They were launching that chapter a long time ago now, 2013, I think. And it was a $250 back then. It was like a launch fee, and you pay $250. It kind of holds your seat, and then you pay the remainder when they reach certain numbers. So he paid his $250, filled in the application form and submitted it. So he comes home the next week after he submits his form, and he says, Linda Gunek would like me to check her car, because she's got this Ford Mondeo, and it's like vibrating, and she's been taking it to Pennant Hills Ford, and I'm like, okay. So he takes the car. They swap it at BNI. It was a clever system. So he would give her his car, and she would take, like, they would swap cars. So he would take the problem car and drive it around, diagnose it, quote it up. So I quoted it up, wrote it up. He quoted it, I wrote it. $2,900 was the quote. It needed engine mounts and discs and brakes, and the oil was like sludge. The whole thing needed to be redone. Takes it back to her, and she says yes. And I'm like, No. Hi, Linda. I'm Rebecca, Ricardo's wife. I do the invoicing. Just checking which part of the quote you'd like to go ahead with. And she says, all of it. And I'm like, okay. And then I said, I'll just confirm that in an email. Hi, Linda, just confirming you'd like to go ahead with the full quote. And it shows you where I was, because there was no trust. It was such a scarcity mindset period of my life that I just didn't even see that somebody would just trust us to do the car.
And you just feel like that was on the back of 2 of your roughest years ever?
100%.
So
when you're living with no money, you're constantly thinking, what can I take out? What can I remove?
Do you ever check in with Linda?
Oh, she's still a customer. Are you kidding me? Her and John and her 2 children, now they're all grown up, and we do all their cars still. And doesn't have a Ford Mondeo anymore. She's got a BMW X6, I think.
A European car, which Ricardo likes to service.
Yeah.
Listeners may not know entirely what BNI is just yet, so maybe just give us a quick snapshot as to what BNI is. Like, it's a group of people, there are referrals, testimonials, but just a quick snapshot as to what it does.
Okay, so BNI is basically comprised of many groups that meet every single week, the same people in the group. We do have visitors come through, but it's the same core group, and they meet weekly in a structured meeting agenda to build trust, pitch their business, and refer business to each other.
Awesome.
And report on business.
Yeah, and it's a huge success factor for a lot of small businesses.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I look at it and I'm really proud and fulfilled to know that we're actually keeping businesses afloat. So when you first start a business, like, where do your customers come from? Where's your first customer from? It's like hard going. Come to BNI and you've got like friends around you from day one.
And what did BNI facilitate? Like, what did Ricardo's business do, with BNI? Like, what was the experience?
Massive. So we just started getting work. Like, it just started quite slowly. And then I got to a point where I was at BNI one Friday morning, and Jerry Farlinger said, "Rebecca, you're looking more cheerful than usual, if that's possible." And I said, "Jerry, we have got one job every single day of the month. Like, we've got something on every single day." I'm like, "Do you know what that feels like? That is pure joy. That is like finding gold at the end of the rainbow."
I mean, look, for the listeners back home, BNI has played a massive part for our business in the last 7 years. We've been a member for 7 years, and it's probably 35% of the business now.
Yeah, it's about that for us. It's amazing.
And so it's definitely works, and it's definitely something we're an advocate for. And I just want to say also congratulations for what it is that you're building out in the Northwest region. From what I understand, you're growing it quite significantly, right? So what are some of the numbers? And how long ago was it that you became a member and to where you are now?
So I was 6 months after he joined. So I think it would have been somewhere in early 2014. I think I became a member, or even the end of the year before that. It's been about 10 years. I just loved it. It just became so cool. And then they said, "Oh, come and be an ambassador. It's a volunteer role." I'm like, yes. More chapters, more people. Like, it had nothing to do with the money in the end, because you could really feel like people needed to be heard. And I'm a talker, so I actually had to learn how to listen. So it was 6 years ago that Glenn Anthony's wife passed away suddenly. Yeah, and he just said, "I'm out. I'm not renewing this franchise." And it was due that year. In just a couple of months, it was due. I think it was October, and she passed away in February. So he just went, "I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore." And I was on the team. I had said yes, lots of yeses in there. And I just went, "What are you going to do? Do you want me to help you run it, like as a manager, like as an employee?" He says, "No, I don't want anything to do with it anymore." It was something that he did with her. And now that she was gone, he didn't want to proceed. And I just said, and he said he wanted to sell it. And I said, "Oh, okay. And how much do you want for it?" And he just went, "Oh, you probably couldn't afford it anyway, Rebecca." So I went, "Oh yeah, probably." I went home and told my husband, and Ricardo was like, "Oh, and how much does he want for it?" I said, "Oh, we can't afford it." And he went, "How does he know what we can afford?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this." He went, "Go and ask him how much he wants for it." So it's like all the big things that I know I should do. I'm like, no, don't make me, no. And then in the end, it becomes the most important thing that I do. So all the talk about yes, it's really hard to say yes to the big things.
Everything happens for a reason, right? There's always going to be a way that it pushes you to take that action.
Yeah.
If that's the right action.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's very much what I believe in. So it's fantastic that occurred. But from what I understand, you've grown the region since too.
We've doubled the region, or a little more maybe, I'm not sure. So we bought it at about 200 and something members, and now we've got mid 500s and about to launch another chapter. But it's not, the KPIs are not the thing that is inspiring. It's not about numbers, it can't be. There's like a world that they've left. The corporate world has dried them up on the inside, and they've lost the thing that made them who they were. Somewhere in that big machine, and it spat them out, and often that comes in, let me start something for myself. That's the key. That's what we do at BNI. It's actually reigniting the fire in everybody. as an individual person, because every single person has value, and the value is exemplified when we work together. And understanding that we've all been through something. Like, you've been through something, I've been through something. Anybody you ask will have a beautiful story of like challenges, overcoming those so that they got where they got, and then they're going to go further, and this is their goal and this is where they're going. It's the same journey. And the key is leveraging each other, using each other as support so that together, like as Bruno says in his education, it's about chainmail. So that if one chain snaps, it's not like a chain where the whole chain is broken, but if one chain snaps, you've got all the rest of the chains to support. And that's what we're doing in BNI. So it's not about, look how many numbers of people, but it's about, look how much impact we can make when we work together and help each other.
And when you talk about impact can be so broad, but it's so interesting in the sense that I feel like it's so relevant for every single business, regardless of what product or service that you're providing. I think impact is what needs to fundamentally be the key that you focus on, not just the metrics like you mentioned. And I think what you've done so well, if I can say impact in terms of how that impacts your community, most certainly. And I think that is primarily what it is I wanted to chat to you about today is how you build community, because I see you do that fantastically. And I think you've got a lovely energy about you, and then people gravitate towards that, right?
That's nice, Will. Thank you.
But I also think that's because authentically you care, authentically you want to make an impact. And I think that's something that every business owner can take away from this conversation and get, how is it that I'm impacting my clients? How is it that my team are impacting my clients? And how can we improve that impact? How can we be...
It's about what difference you can make, isn't it? Isn't that what it comes down to?
Absolutely.
All the money and the property and the cars. I mean, it's really helped me being working in that workshop, because we've got a Lamborghini in there. And it was quite funny this morning. Ricardo gave us all a warning because it was about to get noisy, and he switched it on. And it's like it really was really loud. But the point is, every car's better than the next.
Look, it's so easy when you first start a business that you want to focus on money and obtaining
and you have to, but you have to, Will, because it's all about building. So we've got different stages. So we didn't have to live in Galston. That was part of the plan. It's 5 acres. He's got his fruit trees. He's living his best life with his chainsaw. That's another story for another day. But my point is, we could be living in Blacktown as happily as we're living, but we're not. It's not about living on the poverty line. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't earn money. I'm saying the primary motive for business has to be impact. It can't be monetary transactional, because people will see through it. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying like don't earn money and undercut yourself and don't charge enough or whatever and be a charity, because we've got charities and even charities make money. What I'm saying is your primary motive has got to be about how can you support somebody else, or what difference could you make, or what impact can you have.
Absolutely. And what I was saying too is that it's so easy for a business to have a metric of money, yet completely forget impact.
Yes.
And it impacts the customer's experience.
Yes.
And unless they're really good at marketing and they understand the customer's experience, they don't actually touch on how it is that they can successfully grow that business by focusing on impact. And
I think you said it well.
In our own business, we focus on impact by not only our customers, but our people as well. That's something I'm really passionate about right now. How do we impact the lives of our people? Because, it's super easy for a business owner to focus on solo one individual, and that is very much like, I guess, potentially what society think as business ownership as being.
Yeah.
Building freedom, building financial freedom,
Yeah.
building dollars for that one person. But I think businesses and communities can go so much further if they focus on impact for their people and their customers.
I love that. And you and Rochelle are a really great example of that, because when I was sitting with her earlier, she said, because I'm like, what do you like most about insurance? Because it's not the most interesting sounding job. It's like a mechanic. It's like it's something you have to do. And she said, I make an impact. And I'm like, think about that. And you said, it's lovely to be in this office because it's lovely for my staff to come here. It's a lovely place to be. And it really is, can I say. It's a beautiful office world.
Thank you.
But the point is we have to think bigger than ourselves. That's the point. And when we do that, that's what comes through. And I think we've still got a long way to go as a culture to do that. But what we've got in BNI is a pocket of people who do. That's what we've got. That's how you build that community, that strong community that looks out for each other, that cares. They care if it's not a good day for you.
But what's the vision? What's your vision for the future? Where is it that Rebecca and Ricardo are going next?
Oh, wow, that's such an important question. I'm always thinking about that, not because I'm a visionary, because I actually don't know. I don't know, but you know what I do know? Truly, inside me, I know that when I need to know it, it will come to me. And that drives my sister crazy.
She's a control freak.
It's not a control freak.
Okay.
There's a level of certainty that people need, and I don't seem to have it. But there's a beauty in trust. And I will trust that when I need it, it will come. But I am open, always open. And as I said in the beginning, I've learnt through the years to say yes, because it's the yeses that give you the opportunity. Every no, that's your wall. There's nothing behind a no. But when you have a yes, that's the opportunity. That could lead you anywhere. Do you know, we had a visitor come to a BNI chapter, Jeremy Patterson, and I didn't invite him. It wasn't my feature presentation. I was just doing my normal presentation in my normal group. And I got a phone call 3 months later after his visit, and, "Oh, Rebecca, I met you at BNI. Do you remember me?" I'm thinking, absolutely not, but okay, how can I help? Well, he had a Volvo that needed all this massive amount of work done on the engine. Nobody could fix the car. Of course, Ricardo could, because that's what he does. And from that one visit, it's been like, oh God, $40,000 worth of work from this one visit from this one customer who's still coming to this day. Like, he's changed his car multiple times. But the point is, it's about trusting, and it's about saying yes, and it's about it's saying yes to attending every week, even though you're tired, even though you have a headache, even though the kids kept you up at night, even though it's going, it's saying yes. It's in every yes that there's an opportunity behind it. That's the key. That's the take home. Because every time there's a no, he wouldn't have heard me. That's one job. It's in the scheme of things, it might sound small, but it's important to him. Nobody could fix that Volvo. Do you know, I found out that I got a thank you card. That Volvo was his grandfather gave him a model car, and it was that Volvo. And so he found that Volvo. It was a really ugly purple square old Volvo, and it's like, this car means something. I need to fix this car. So it's more than the car. It's not about the car.
It's so funny when you say, always saying yes. What I hear is, if Ricardo had heard your no and listened to your no, he wouldn't have gone into BNI. The business may not be where it is today. And it's really funny. I was talking to my mum on the weekend, and we're talking about disciplinary styles. And her way was, she would take something away from us, and then we would always ask, whether we could have it back. And she was always negotiable, And so what I learnt growing up as a kid was that no wasn't always a no, that it was always some negotiation.
It wasn't a hard no.
Out of context, that's not always the best way to review things, but the no might be no right now, and always looking for a yes, always looking for the positive and how it is that we can get there. And the faith. I think the faith is huge, right? That's something that my parents instilled in me, and something that I see is so heavily instilled in you, and something that you'll continue into your children. So it's been an amazing conversation to hear about how it is that your life has come about, and how you've instilled faith, how you've said yes at every opportunity, and how you've built community around you to really be successful to where you are today.
Thank you so much, Will. Thank you for having me today. I am honoured that you asked me. I don't feel that I have enough to tell you, but I do appreciate you seeing, and I do appreciate being asked.
No, you're very welcome. I think energy speaks louder than words, and the actions I've seen you take speaks much louder than what it is that I've had to hear. So if anyone does want to reach out to you, how do they reach out?
Well, you can email me. You can go to the BNI website, bnisnw.com.au, or rebecca@bnisnw.com.au, and I will be happy to have a conversation or have a coffee. Can you believe I have coffee for a living? It's a pretty good job.
And look, I'll give the rubber stamp on it, the recommendation that if you're a small business anywhere in the northwest, West Perth, Parramatta, so it's Parramatta,
Penrith.
I said Perth?
You did.
I meant Penrith.
Well, what will actually means is anywhere in the world, we will find you a chapter and we'll find you one that will fit you, because that's literally how big it is.
Absolutely. And I think every SME business, every business really can benefit from it. So I'd highly recommend it. Reach out to Rebecca if you have any questions.
Thank you.
But again, Rebecca, thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
Associates, thank you for joining us today. Please hit the subscribe button if you've enjoyed this episode. And if you'd like to be part of the Associates community, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay in touch. Cheers.